Tax season. It's that dreaded time of year when we all have to gather our financial documents, sift through endless receipts, and try to make sense of the complex tax codes. The stress is palpable, and the frustration is real. That time of year when your bank account weeps. We all pay taxes, or we're supposed to. It's a civic duty, a contribution to the society we live in, but it often feels like a heavy burden, especially when you see your hard-earned money disappearing. It's the price of civilization. Roads, schools, and hospitals, these are the pillars of our community. They need funding to function, and that's where our taxes come in. Without them, the infrastructure we rely on would crumble. Healthcare, someone's got to pay for it. The roads we drive on, the schools our children attend, the hospitals that care for us, all these services are funded by our taxes. It's a necessary system, but it doesn't always feel fair. Then you see the news. Stories of billionaires and corporations paying less tax than their secretaries. It's infuriating. How can the wealthiest among us contribute so little while the rest of us shoulder the burden? A billionaire paying less tax than their secretary. Sometimes they pay absolutely nothing. Zero. It's a loophole-ridden system that allows the rich to get richer while the average person struggles to make ends meet. How is that even possible? It's fundamentally unfair. The tax code is so complex and full of loopholes that those with the means can exploit it to their advantage, leaving the rest of us to pick up the slack. You work hard, day in, day out. You put in the hours, you make sacrifices, and you expect to be rewarded for your efforts. But when tax season comes around, it feels like a slap in the face. Your paycheck arrives, and poof! A big chunk is gone. It's disheartening to see a significant portion of your earnings vanish, especially when you know that some people are gaming the system. Meanwhile, some titans of industry boast about their low tax rates. They flaunt their wealth and their ability to navigate the tax code while the average person is left feeling helpless and frustrated. It's a system that seems rigged, benefiting the few at the top. The disparity is glaring, and it raises questions about the fairness and integrity of our tax system. The tax gap, the difference between what's owed and collected, is hundreds of billions annually. This gap represents lost revenue that could be used to improve public services and infrastructure. A disproportionate amount of that gap comes from the wealthiest. They have the resources to hire experts who can find every possible deduction and loophole, leaving the rest of us to bear the brunt of the tax burden. So let's pull back the curtain and see how this magic trick works. It's time to understand the mechanisms that allow such disparities to exist, and to demand a fairer system for everyone. The tax system is complex, but it's not beyond our understanding. By educating ourselves and advocating for change, we can work towards a more equitable system that benefits all, not just the privileged few. A disproportionate amount of that gap comes from the wealthiest. They have the resources to hire experts who can find every possible deduction and loophole, leaving the rest of us to bear the brunt of the tax burden. So let's pull back the curtain and see how this magic trick works. It's time to understand the mechanisms that allow such disparities to exist and to demand a fairer system for everyone. The tax system is complex, but it's not beyond our understanding. By educating ourselves and advocating for change, we can work towards a more equitable system that benefits all, not just the privileged few. How do the rich manage this disappearing tax act? There are two main methods, one illegal, the other shockingly legal. First, tax evasion. This is the bad one, the illegal one. Think of Al Capone, who was caught for tax evasion, not his violent crimes. The government wants its cut, period. Then, there's tax avoidance. Sounds similar, but it's different. Tax avoidance uses the tax code to your benefit, finding and exploiting loopholes legally. This is where fancy accountants earn their keep. One will land you in prison, the other might get you a feature in Forbes. Understanding the difference is key. Let's start with tax evasion. Straightforward, illegal stuff. It's one of the most blatant forms of financial misconduct, and it's been around for as long as taxes themselves. People go to great lengths to avoid paying their fair share, and the methods they use can be surprisingly creative. It's lying to tax authorities like the IRS or HMRC. This isn't just a little white lie, it's a deliberate attempt to deceive the government. People might falsify their income, claim non-existent dependents, or even create fake documents to support their lies. Auditors don't like liars. It's their job to catch them. These professionals are trained to spot inconsistencies and irregularities in financial records. They dig deep into the numbers, looking for any signs of deception. When they find something suspicious, they investigate further, often uncovering elaborate schemes. Common evasion methods include underreporting income or not declaring cash income. Some people think that if they don't report cash payments, they can keep that money hidden from the tax authorities. But this is a risky game to play, as auditors are well aware of these tactics. Claiming false deductions like a dog's diamond collar as a business expense is another. People try to write off personal expenses as business costs, hoping to reduce their taxable income. This can include anything from luxury vacations to extravagant gifts, all disguised as legitimate business expenses. Hiding assets in offshore accounts or shell corporations is classic evasion. By moving money to foreign banks or setting up complex corporate structures, individuals attempt to keep their wealth out of reach of tax authorities. These schemes can be incredibly sophisticated, involving multiple layers of deception. It's like a magic trick. Now you see the money, now you don't. The illusion of disappearing money can be quite convincing, but it's all smoke and mirrors. The reality is that these tactics are designed to hide the truth and avoid paying taxes. But it's not magic, it's fraud and a crime. When caught, the consequences can be severe. People found guilty of tax evasion can face hefty fines, legal penalties, and even imprisonment. The justice system takes these offenses seriously as they undermine the integrity of the tax system. It's stealing from public services, schools, hospitals, and roads. The money that should be going to fund essential services and infrastructure is instead lining the pockets of tax evaders. This theft has a real impact on communities, depriving them of the resources they need to thrive. It's not being smart, it's being a thief. Tax evasion is a selfish act that harms society as a whole. By dodging their responsibilities, tax evaders are essentially stealing from everyone else. It's a crime that affects us all, and it's one that we must continue to fight against. Remember those spy movies with Swiss banks and numbered accounts? For a long time, Switzerland was the global capital for stashing undeclared cash. Swiss banking secrecy laws made it a criminal offense to disclose client information. This created a shield for those evading taxes. Billions flowed into these vaults, money that should have funded public good. But times changed. International pressure built up. The US enacted FATCA, forcing global banks to disclose American account holders. The famous Swiss secrecy has been eroded. Automatic exchange of information agreements are now in place. Hiding illicit cash in Swiss accounts is much harder now. Now let's shift to tax avoidance, the legal side. It involves using tax laws to reduce what you owe. It's about finding gaps, exemptions, and credits. Think of the tax code as a complex game with loopholes. Wealthy individuals and corporations hire specialists to navigate this code. Their job is to find every legal way to shrink the tax bill. This can involve setting up trusts, using tax-advantaged investments, and structuring businesses to shift profits to low-tax jurisdictions. It's complicated and often intentionally so, but it's legal. Corporations are the grandmasters of tax avoidance. They have departments dedicated to minimizing tax liability globally. One strategy is using controlled foreign corporations in low-tax countries. Profits magically appear in these subsidiaries. Transfer pricing is another tactic, shifting profits through internal transactions. These strategies allow companies to report massive profits to shareholders while minimizing taxes. Sometimes their effective tax rate is tiny or even negative. It's often legal, thanks to loopholes and lobbying for favorable tax laws. Wealthy individuals have advantages in how their income is taxed. Money from investments is often taxed differently than salary. Capital gains and dividends often get preferential treatment. Long-term capital gains are taxed at lower rates. For the wealthiest, this is a massive tax break. Public figures like Robert Kiyosaki emphasize using tax laws to their advantage. It's a different financial mindset and a different set of tax rules. Let's nail this down. Tax evasion is illegal. It involves deception, hiding income, and claiming false deductions. If caught, you face fines, penalties, and prison. Tax avoidance is legal, using the tax code to minimize liability. It involves exploiting loopholes and credits. Think of Donald Trump, who used business losses to offset income. The line between aggressive avoidance and evasion can seem blurry, but legally the distinction is crucial. One is fraud, the other is a strategy. Why should you care if billionaires pay little tax? It's a question that might seem distant, but it has real implications for your everyday life. When the wealthiest individuals and corporations find ways to minimize their tax contributions, the burden doesn't just disappear. Instead, It shifts onto the shoulders of ordinary citizens like you and me. When the wealthy contribute less, there are consequences for everyone else. Public services that we all rely on, such as healthcare, education, and infrastructure, suffer. Imagine longer waiting times at hospitals, overcrowded classrooms, and roads filled with potholes. These are just a few examples of how underfunding can impact our daily lives. If the government isn't collecting enough, ordinary taxpayers make up the shortfall. This means that you might find yourself paying more in taxes to cover the gap left by those who can afford to pay more, but choose not to. It's a cycle that places an unfair strain on middle and lower income families. This can mean higher taxes or cuts to public services. Higher taxes reduce your disposable income, making it harder to save or invest in your future. On the other hand, cuts to public services mean you get less value for the taxes you do pay, affecting everything from public safety to social services. It creates a sense of unfairness and a two-tiered system. When people see that the wealthy are not paying their fair share, it fosters resentment and division within communities. This sense of injustice can lead to social unrest and a lack of cohesion among citizens. This erodes public trust in government and institutions. When people feel that the system is rigged against them, they lose faith in the very institutions that are supposed to serve and protect them. This distrust can lead to lower voter turnout and decreased civic engagement, weakening the democratic process. So, what can you do? Stay informed and support tax reform. Educate yourself about the issues and advocate for policies that promote fairness and equity. Join community groups, attend town hall meetings, and make your voice heard. Push for simpler, fairer tax laws that ensure everyone pays their fair share. Support candidates and legislation that aim to close loopholes and make the tax system more transparent and just. Your involvement can make a difference. A system benefiting only a select few isn't working for all of us. The disparity between the rich and the poor continues to grow, and this imbalance affects the quality of life for everyone. It's time to demand a system that works for the many, not just the few. It's a racket, and it needs to change. By coming together and advocating for a fairer tax system, we can create a more just and equitable society. The power to make this change lies in our hands.